welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to compare the Sony a6400, the Sony a6300, as well as the Sony a7 III. I actually have the Sony a7 III and the Sony a6300, and I know that the Sony a6400 just came out, and so I just kind of wanted to talk to you guys about my views on why I decided not to get the Sony a6400 and what I love the most about my new Sony a7 III. So if you are not subscribed, make sure that you subscribe to my channel, and we're gonna get right into it. So the reason why I decided to talk about the Sony a6400, which I wasn't going to do, but it was brought to my attention because a lot of people start asking me about it, as well as when I posted my latest video about all the new camera equipment that I received, somebody immediately posted in the comments, the Sony a6400 just came out, I'm about to get that. Now, I won't lie, immediately I started thinking like, man, I should have waited. Should I have just bought the Sony a6400? I could have saved a lot of money, blah, 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 blah. So I went and I started researching it automatically. I didn't even know it was coming out because I've been off YouTube, off social. So I went and I started researching it, and I was just kind of like, oh man, maybe I should have waited. But the more and more I researched it, the more I realized that it just wasn't the camera for me. It wasn't the camera for what I saw for my future. I was so hung up on my present, like, man, I'm doing YouTube videos. The flip out screen would have been amazing, you know, but for the future of what I'm trying to do, not just YouTube, but like client work and where I'm trying to go, the Sony a6400 was just, it just brought me back. And because I had the 6300, I felt like it wasn't really a upgrade from the 6300 and the a7 III. So here are a couple of reasons why I like the a7 III and why I won't be getting the 6400. So the first thing is, and you've heard this probably before, image stabilization. This is the #1 reason why I won't be getting the Sony a6400. And the reason being is because I have the Sony a6300 and I have the Sony a7 III. And I've already seen a difference with actually having a camera that has image stabilization. I recall using my 6300 and being like, man, like my footage is shaky, and I'm a pretty stable person. I've literally had people tell me like, man, you are super stable. Like, I am a pro at that. Like, I don't shake much or anything like that. I've been doing this for a while, so I know how to be very handheld. But being able to have image stabilization is so huge. Like, I didn't realize how big it was till I got the Sony a7 III, and I would be doing the same movements on my Sony a7 III that I would be doing on my 6300, and it was just such a huge difference. And so being able to have that right out the camera and not have to go into post and try to fix that, there's no way that you can look past it. And so coming from that and going back to the 6400 without having image stabilization, there was no way that I could do it or see myself doing that. I fell in love with image stabilization. I mean, I knew what it was. I have a Canon 5D Mark III, but it's just, I've been working with my Sony a6300 for so long that I just became accustomed and used to it. But now having a Sony a7 III, I'm like, this is I need this. And so that's one of the reasons why I won't be getting the Sony a6400 and why I love the Sony a7 III. The second reason why I love the Sony a7 III is because Proxies. This is so important to me, and it may not be important to you guys, but it's important to me because as a video editor, most of my work doesn't come from shooting. Most of my work comes from video editing. I am a part-time video editor for a7III Productions. I edit other people's projects. Like, that's huge. I shoot as well, but recently I've just, you know, God have just pushed me to get more into video editing, and that's what I've been doing. And so creating Proxies have been my life recently. You know, a lot of people shoot 4K. The Sony 6300, the Sony a6400, as well as the Sony a7 III all have the option to shoot 4K, which is the thing nowadays. And so when you shoot 4K, you want to have this high quality footage, but it takes so much space on your card, and it's such big files, so it takes space on your external, takes space on your computer. Wherever you're putting these files, it's gonna take space. And so for me, when you're getting into post-production and you're getting into video editing and you don't have a powerful enough computer that can take 4K files, you want to create Proxies. And for the people who don't know what Proxies are, Proxies are basically, it's like a copy of your footage in smaller files. So if I have a 4K file that's 1 gig and I create a proxy, then my proxy can probably be 200 megabytes. So it's creating a smaller file that I can actually work off of in Adobe Premiere. Because a lot of times if you work off of 4K files and you don't have a powerful enough computer, it'll start glitching or it'll work really slow and you can't play it. You have to render it first. Like, it takes up too much of your editing time. And so to be able to create proxies while I'm shooting, it eliminates a whole day in post where I can literally just plug in my SD card, drop it in my external, and get right to editing. I think that is a plus. I didn't even know the Sony a7 III had that option until I bought the camera. To find out that this camera was able to create proxies while you're shooting was amazing, and I did test it out. I just shot something really quick and automatically it created proxies in a whole different folder on your SD card. So you want to make sure that you have enough space to shoot your 4K as well as for it to create proxies, because it's going to create a proxy for every clip. But I'm telling you, it saves so much time in post. So that was the second thing that I love about the Sony a7 III that the other cameras don't even offer, was to just create proxies, which everyone wants to shoot 4K, but people don't understand the post-production aspect and how long it actually takes to work on 4K files and to transcode footage and to go into media encoder and create these proxies before you even start getting to work. So if you just want to have a more productive workflow, being able to have the Sony a7 III and creating proxies already in camera was a plus for me. And number 3 was the fact that it has the APSC option. Now, I didn't know this either about the Sony a7 III, but APS-C is just another term for cropped. The Sony a6400 as well as the Sony a63 are both crop sensors. And the Sony a7 III is a full frame camera. So when I bought the Sony a63 a couple of years ago, I did get the Sigma 18-135, which is technically only 4 crop sensors. So being able to have the option to crop my full frame camera and use the same lenses that I would use for my Sony a6300 is such a plus. I don't have all the money to buy all these new lenses because I bought the camera, but I didn't buy new lenses. I'm working with all the lenses that I previously used for my Sony 6300, which was really all I have was the kit lens, the Sigma 18-135, which is a great lens, and I have my Canon lenses with my adapter. And so being able to use the Sigma 18-135 to get a wide angle at f1.8 on my full frame camera is amazing. You have the option to keep it full frame, or you can go APS-C or crop, and you don't get that vignette look that you would get if your camera was not able to use a cropped lens. So that was number 3 for me, and I used it and it was amazing. I didn't see a difference. It was perfect, and you have the option to make it automatic. So right when you put a cropped lens onto your camera, it automatically goes to crop, and you don't have to deal with the vignette or anything like that. And so I just love that aspect. So the features to me of the Sony a7 III is what I saw my future being. And of course, I'm not going to be using cropped lenses all the time, but you know, you have to look at where you are now and work with where you are. And so when a lot of people were talking about the 6400, it sparked my interest, but then I really had to be realistic with myself and figure out what I'm really trying to do here, what I'm really trying to accomplish, and if this camera will benefit me and my needs. And so the 6400, I heard the autofocus is great for what I do. That wasn't really that important to me. And I heard also, and I love the flip out screen. Now that's something I do wish that I had because I do vlog. So if you are a vlogger and that's the only thing that you do, and you're not really trying to get a camera to become a filmmaker, you just want to create a YouTube where you can vlog about your trips or vlog, you know, from home, then the Sony a6400 is a great camera to get. I have the 63, so if I decide that I just want to get a camera for vlogging, I might get the 6400 and swap it out with my 63, but by no means am I looking to get the 6400 anytime soon. If you are a vlogger, or if you are new to videography and you're interested in the Sony 6300 or the 6500, yes, why not get the 6400 if it's around the same price? I think when I bought my 6300 a couple years ago, it was about $800. And so if you already are interested in the 6300, it's like, why not upgrade and pay the $900 for the 64? But if you are a filmmaker and you see that you want to do so much more than vlogging, I would definitely outweigh the pros and cons of getting that camera as opposed to getting a different Sony or Canon or whatever other camera that will give you what you need. It all comes back to what you need. For me, the vlogging would have just been for YouTube, but I do so much client work that I needed something that was a little bit more powerful, that gave me a little bit more. So always make sure when you are all these new cameras are coming out and you're hearing about what camera to get, always check what you're doing and don't just buy a camera because all the YouTubers are buying one. So yeah, that's why I chose to keep the Sony a7 III. Those are my viewpoints on the 63 and the 6400. If you guys have any questions, let me know. What do you think about the 6400? What camera do you already have? And thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, make sure you give it the thumbs up, share this video with your friends, and make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.